My name is Anil Lewis. I'm the Executive Director of the National Federation of the Blind Jernigan Institute, a world-class research and training institute run by blind people, which supports our 52 nationwide affiliates, assist blind people live the lives we want. Members of the National Federation of the Blind are working to responsibly phase out the use of Section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act, which is an unfair, discriminatory, immoral policy that allows employers to pay workers with disabilities less than the federal minimum wage. We are joined by over 70 other organizations of people with disabilities, public agencies, and private businesses in our struggle to secure equal wage protections for workers with disabilities. I recently had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Platt Allen at our 2014 National Federation of the Blind National Convention held in Orlando. Mr. Allen is the President/CEO of the Lighthouse of Fort Worth, Texas. He currently employs over 100 individuals, 80 of whom are blind workers that earn the federal minimum wage or higher. Mr. Allen describes that by adopting a new business model, the Lighthouse of Fort Worth, Texas, is yet one of the many demonstrations that Section 14C is not work, it's not training, and it's not right.
All right, I'm here with Platt Allen III. He's the President CEO of the Lighthouse in Fort Worth, Texas. And he's here at the National Federation of the Blind National Convention here in Orlando, Florida. He's going to be presenting in just a few minutes. He's one of our new fair wage partners. Platt, glad to have you here with the National Federation of the Blind.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure. Now, this is your first convention, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, you'll be impressed with the thousands of blind people walking around independently with their canes, living the lives that they want?
Not impressed at all. It's what I expect.
Beautiful. See, that's the kind of answer I like with partners that come on board. We're lucky to have you because we recognize that you and your leadership of the Lighthouse, which formerly used to engage in the practice of paying workers with disabilities supplemental wages, the legal practice because Section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act allows it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that employers have to. And we applaud you for looking for a new business model that allows you to pay each of your employees the minimum wage or more. Can you explain a little bit about that transition?
Well, it wasn't all that difficult of a transition for us. We saw value in employees and doing good work for our customers, for our suppliers, for our community, and chose to reward them for that good work by paying them a competitive wage to do that work.
So what did it take in order for you to engage in? Did you lose staff? Did you have to fire people? What was the drastic change?
No, sir. There was no reduction in force. We simply decided that the best practice was for us to pay minimum wage or better, and to not engage in the practice of Section 14C certificate wages. And once we made the decision, it was a pretty easy transition for us.
So what would you advise entities out there that still are using the 14C certificate with respect to their consideration of whether they should change to this new business model?
Certainly organizations that are like ours, organizations that employ blind labor, I would encourage them not to engage into that practice, that there is a competitive model that would allow them to compete in their marketplace, to produce products and services at a reasonable margin so that they can provide for the agency, they can provide for their rehabilitation services, and do good work in their community just like we are.
That's excellent. Based on our conversations, I know one piece that kind of stands out to me, but before I just go down that particular path, what would you say was the most instrumental shift in your business strategy that makes the Lighthouse in Fort Worth to be able to be so successful without the minimum wage certificates?
Well, certainly we've seen a change in our customer model. Historically, our Lighthouse has relied very heavily on state and federal business. And as that state and federal business started to decline, we had to reach out into the broader commercial market to find opportunities for us to provide job opportunities for folks who are blind. As we made that change, the necessity for labor, for employees that were competitive in their jobs required us to pay them a competitive wage. We couldn't find the talent that we need to be able to compete in a commercial market by using certificate wages. It just wouldn't be possible.
And that's the simple piece that kind of stood out to me. What you basically told me, and it kind of lit a light, even though I knew this, hearing you kind of validate it made sense. You implement real business strategies into an environment that has kind of missed that. We've lived in an environment where the industries have been more custodialistic than empowering. So I love the fact that you've introduced a business strategy in an environment where it sometimes may not have been prevalent.
Well, as we see the state and federal business decline, which is that sort of entitlement for agencies like ours, as we see that entitlement decline, we have got to make ourselves more competitive. And the only way to do that is to use good business models and proven business models in the competitive for-profit world and emulate those in a nonprofit way so that we provide the jobs that we want to provide. We provide the training and education so that people can advance in those jobs, and then turn around and use those revenues and those margins to benefit our communities.
The last thing I want to highlight is what was really key for me. I know that you're in this because you feel you're doing the right thing, and you heard the families, you've heard the consumers, you've heard the community say we need a place for people with disabilities to come and be social, to come and interact, to play cards, to have maybe a community presentation around something. How do you still fit that within the existing model that you have?
That's a wonderful question. Ours is a competitive business model. We are competitively employing folks in the production of products and services for our customers. That does not mean that there's not a place for the social aspect that all of us enjoy in our communities. And as a lighthouse, I feel I still have an obligation to provide that social outreach for our community, but I don't mix social with work. Work is work, social is social, and I don't get paid to socialize, and so I don't think our employees should either.
Excellent. In the congressional information I've seen around the history of this, one of the members of Congress stated that it's kind of the schizophrenia of the workshops that have created this downward spiral of expectation, and I'm glad that you're not falling into that paradigm. You recognize that there's a place for it, but when you're engaging in something that's social, cards, karaoke, community presentations, it's a good thing to do because it helps build a person, it helps give them something to do, but it's not work. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
For more information about our fair wages efforts, visit www.nfb.org/fair-wages.